all right. What's up, family? What's up, fam?
What's good, Julian? Man, what's happening? It seems like you was just here.
I was just there. It was just all good a week ago. What's up to everybody watching Clapback Culture this Thursday? I see y'all pulling up. Welcome. Good evening. How are you, Big O? How's your week been?
Man, this has been it's been a lot going on, dog. Now that you're asking, thank you for asking. The big news here, amongst a lot of big stories, is Converges, man. Then Nate Jackson, comedian, funny man, you know what I'm saying, actor, businessman, Nate Jackson joining us here at Converge. A lot of people might know Nate. Owns the biggest, as far as the capacity, the biggest black owned comedy club in America down there in Tacoma. And, a lot of people, you see him playing the role of Junkyard Dog on Young Rock on NBC and Wilding Out, all kinds of stuff. It's big black star power joining us here at Converge.
I mean, listen, who doesn't want to come to Converge? I was chopping it up with the Queens, and we were having a running joke that these days it's not that people want to leave, it's that people are getting put out. So listen, to be a part of the Converge family is like you either with us or you not. And so I really love our core team. I'm so glad to have Nate join us. It's this is a strong collective, man. And like the stuff that we're doing and the content that we're creating is really meaningful. And I'm looking forward to having him on the team.
Yeah, no, me too. We got stuff coming from Nate. What do you say? It was at mid October, Curtis? Even sooner than that, huh? Okay, all right, good stuff. And then my Facebook was blowing up a few days ago. Somebody put some pictures of themselves up and tagged me and tagged me. I looked at something and said, "Yeah, something's 500 likes." I'm like, man, I did something that got 500 likes. Of course not. It was you and
Yeah,
your
man.
pictures when you were in here holding that Emmy.
Listen, the buzz is going crazy. I was gonna say, I don't know how you listen, you guys. The Emmy happened back in February, but I never got a
June.
chance to take. Oh, June, excuse me. But I never got a chance to, share it on social media because I just didn't have a picture. And things just are not real, I guess, until you post it on social media. And yeah, I've gotten an outpouring of love and support, even though I had already told people about it. I think it's just not real until it hits the gram. So, thank you to everyone who has reached out. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, honey, and it was given. So, we love a good viral moment.
Yeah, and for sure. And again, this show right here, the longest running show on Converge.
Hello. Well, I think that just brings us right into a great segue where we can roll right into the show because that's what y'all came to hear. That's what you guys are tuning in for. And I got some good topics tonight. So, first things first, you guys, I'm really, really, really happy to share this news with you. But Junior Feliz, Guzman-Feliz, you guys, he was the 15-year-old teenager from the Bronx who was murdered by a vicious gang out in the Bronx. And it was really through mistaken identity. And I don't know if you remember this, but this happened back in 2018. Um, it sparked an outrage in the city, but also an outrage on social media that really birthed the hashtag justice for Junior. And it's a young man. You can see him in running down the street. He enters a bodega where he was subsequently dragged out, beaten and stabbed to death by like 7 or 8 different grown men assailants. Well, I'm happy to share with you guys that now, uh, an additional 2 men out of the 13 that were indicted. So there's a total of 7 that are indicted or that have been convicted now, but got a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. I do have a video clip to remind us of what happened. I didn't want to share the sentencing because I think it was important to take us back to why this case was so important. Let's have a look.
Video from 543 East 183rd Street picks up the last block of the hunt for Junior. Suspects identified as Jose Muniz in the white t-shirt, Jose Tavares dressed in black, and Danelle Fernandez wearing a green do-rag are walking or running with steely-eyed conviction. You can see a quick flash on the right in this camera angle. That's Junior trying to reach the bodega. The first suspect was only 4 seconds behind Junior, Tavares peering over the counter and doubling back outside to summon others. The suspect identified as Janaiki Martinez Estrella in a red hat, moving to a corner and tucking a huge knife under his red shirt. Inside, an irate Michael Sosa Reyes, in a black baseball hat and shirt, falsely tells the owner that Junior had attacked his grandmother, according to an investigative source. Sosa ends up leaving the shop. Just before an FDNY ambulance cruises slowly past the bodega, oblivious to what's happening inside. It is 19 seconds before Junior will be dragged to the sidewalk. It took at least 10 seconds to pull Junior away from the back counter, the panicked teen knocking over a potato chip stand as he struggled to stay inside. Camera 1 in the cereal aisle shows Junior desperately trying to grab the ATM machine before the owner and others wave the group outside. 2 hospital employees holding hands have just passed the front door when Junior is pulled outside to be murdered. Police say the frenzied attack took 20 seconds, starting with Muniz hacking at the teen with a machete and Elvin Garcia, a scarf over his face, plunging a knife into Junior 5 to 8 times. The lethal cut, police say, came from Martinez Estrella, seen pushing Junior toward the bodega's door when the mob was finished. 2 store employees jumped back from the doorway as a mortally wounded Junior stumbled to the counter, seeking help, the blood from the vicious neck wound spilling to the floor. An elderly customer waiting to buy chips and soda seems annoyed as he points Junior toward St. Barnabas Hospital a block away. The owner tearfully...
All right, you guys, quick point of correction. 15 men that are alleged gang members were indicted. A total of 7 have been convicted, all of which received 25 years to life. The one who conducted the fatal blow, 25 years without the possibility of parole. All right. Omari, this was a big deal back in 2018. And here we are, 4 years later, finally, seeing justice being done in this case. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, man, that's disturbing. I remember this, and I remember talking about it. Yeah, it's just horrible, man, to be honest with you. And yeah, I know this is a show about talking, man, but I'm kind of speechless. You know what I'm saying? Like seeing that story again, because I just remember it. And then it all came down to, no matter what, it's a horrible crime. But then it all came down to mistaken identity on top of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you totally got the wrong guy.
And what's even worse about this is Junior was actually a part of NYPD's Young Explorers program.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was, he wanted to be a police officer. So this was a kid who was committed to the community, who 2 weeks before this incident was sitting down with his mentor / police officer to plan a trip to Six Flags for him and his cohort. This was just such a good kid. You know what I'm saying? And I think it was important to share that violent video because it reminds us of what was out there. And I also think it's extremely important for us to start being involved, right? And so we see the store owner, initially he's so confused because he just sees this kid trying to jump over the counter. But when he comes back injured, I'll remind you guys that they tell him to not only get out of the store, but they tell him to walk to the hospital. And so nobody helped this young boy get some help. And so I think, we need to always continue to really just help our neighbors. And we've really lost that,
Yeah. I think that unfortunately, what we see here when we talk about tragedy with our young people, this is something that has been happening in one way or another and continues to happen here. And then what you point out there as well is just, uh, man, just a lack of like humanity. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we see it, here a lot, like downtown Seattle. Believe me, um, you see all kinds of stuff, people in crisis and everything else, and people and run. They even tell you like, if something's really going down, don't yell for help because someone's gonna come. Like yell fire. People still react to fire like, oh fire, what's going on? Man, you sit out here and yell help, see if somebody stops.
Man, that's crazy that we are living in a day and age where, it's just more important. Like, I ain't trying to get in nobody's business.
I ain't trying to get caught up in that. I ain't trying to be like whatever. I mean, man, that's real.
Yeah. I mean, and on some occasions, that is probably the best thing to do. But in this case, when you see a teenager, a kid, I mean, he doesn't even have any shoes on and he's bleeding. I mean, bleeding so bad that, I saw a tweet, Omari, that he had lost so much blood that his body was black when they buried him. So this was a tragic case. The mother, who she's such a superhero in my eyes, how strong she has been during this time, and she, I mean, she's faced multiple threats from this gang, and she just has continued to stand tall in seeking justice for her son. So she's a phenomenal woman, and we have to be able to come together as a community and really speak out against it. So I'm glad to see that out of the 15 men indicted in this case, that so far 7 have been convicted, and they're receiving sentences, I think, that are fair.
Yeah, I even saw that in the comments. Somebody's like, "Man, this just hurts my heart seeing this again." Like, well, I mean, all I can say is this, Julia, is that I'm glad to see that one way or another that there is some justice being served on this, and people, a lot of times, man, people forget about the victims. You know what I'm saying? They forget about the actual victims of things because so much spotlight has been put on perpetrators and
Hmm.
and things like that. We got to remember, man, there really is a violent element out there, and justice does need to be served on behalf of the victim. So it's good to see that.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of which, a lot of things continue just to go viral, and there's so many, people just kind of like lashing out and being impatient. I don't know if you saw this headline, Omari, but the Beyond Meat COO, Doug Ramsey, was recently arrested for biting a man's nose after being cut off in a parking garage. So here's the tea, you guys. And listen, Beyond Meat is a plant-based food company, and so biting the flesh off the tip of somebody's nose sounds a little Hannibal Lecter to me. But aside from that, the 53-year-old COO was leaving a college football game and drunk as a skunk, probably, right? Because you're thinking, college game, people are probably having quite a few libations. And upon walking back to his car, and leaving a game, we can imagine how much traffic it is trying to get out of the parking garage. But it's being reported that that officers responded to a disturbance where 2 men got into a dispute. So here's what happened: as Ramsey was pulling out, someone cut him off and hit his front tire. Well, he got out of the car, Ramsey, the COO of Beyond Meat, and punched out the back windshield of this guy's car. The guy gets out. They have a bit of a confrontation. He punches the guy and then bites the tip of his nose off. So he's, and then he, in a fight, you say everything. So he says, "I'm going to kill you." He threatens to kill him and all those things. So he's being charged with terroristic threats, as well as assault, and just this whole big road rage thing. I mean, this is crazy. Beyond Meat does not need this. Their stocks are way down, record lows. And subsequently, the company decided to suspend him.
Suspend, huh? He must got all the Beyond Meat secrets, yo. So
I mean,
that's
well,
a
here's the
suspension.
tea. He's only been there a year, maybe not even a year, June 2021. And he left from Tyson's, the chicken company,
yeah.
to go
See,
to
now it makes sense though, because I'm like, man, Beyond Man, aren't these like people who don't even eat meat? This is, what's up with this guy's, the whole demeanor? But it makes sense. He came over from Tyson Chicken. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that might just be how they roll. I got a bunch of family right down south that work at a Tyson Chicken plant in South Carolina, and yeah, you know what I'm saying? They're with it. You feel me? I ain't got no family that work at no plant-based food company, so it's hard for me to make a comparison. But
when you're fighting, do you think about biting someone? Like, I guess if you get that upset, you're willing to do anything physically to just get your man, right? I mean, Mike Tyson. Oh, I can't hear you. Well, drop down below, you guys, if you guys can hear Omari. It might just be me, but listen, this is definitely crazy. You're a 53-year-old guy, and this also goes to show you guys that the company that you work for, even despite what you do in your personal life, is going to show up, in your professional life, you guys. So let's take a quick break. But when we come back, we got to talk about Alex Jones, you guys. He is back in a court in Connecticut, and families of the Sandy Hook are not happy. Stay tuned. You're watching Clapback Culture.
I did it for the city. I did it for the love. I did it for the people. I did it for us.
Back on this rap-ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't miss my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own. Tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers, and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu, and I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody south of Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and ponder getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. Me, I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city. I did it for the love. I did it for the people. I did it for us.
That Dre season is here. A real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz. And I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Clapback Culture. So let me give you another headline. Alex Jones, he testified this week, you guys, as he took the stand at his defamation trial in Connecticut. You guys know he was in Texas, as he tries to limit the damages he must pay for promoting the lie that the 2012 Sandy Hook school massacre was a hoax. Do you guys remember him? I mean, throughout the years, he was telling his audience on his show, InfoWars, that the school shooting was a hoax. And these families have been traumatized and outraged by this. I mean, can you imagine the post trauma of someone, promoting to the masses that this would happen? Oh, hey, Omari, welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back. Man, Alex Jones, this is horrible. This is just horrible, because it's like what he did. Imagine losing your loved one, and then you got somebody with a platform as big as his who's going out there every day lying. Someone said all these kids that died, some of these guys are crisis actors. Oh, the same person at this mass shooting is at that mass shooting, and some everything else. And I'm just like, for why, bruh? For what?
Well, in August, so this is the second time he's back in court. A Texas jury decided that he, was found guilty of these damages, and one family was awarded $45 million in punitive damages after he had been spreading this lie over and over and over again. And then one of the parents was who had a first grader who was murdered, was awarded $4.1 million for mental anguish, bringing the total to that he needed to pay in punitive damages to $49.3 million. So this is him back in court in Connecticut. And what I love about this is because, essentially we have a responsibility as journalists or podcasters or content creators or whatever you want to call us, right? Because we wear several different hats, but we have, a responsibility to make sure that the information that we present out to the masses is pre-screened, that is accurate, that, that we're giving you guys information to think about, but that it's honest. I never want to come on this platform and blatantly lie to you guys about anything. And I also don't want to twist the truth. It's important to have the facts about situations. And even through my opinions, I always like to leave room to be corrected. And I know that some of you guys have, corrected me on things that I've gotten wrong. I mean, even in this show, when I get the facts wrong, I come back and say, actually, excuse me, let me correct that. And so to have somebody like Alex Jones have this massive platform and use it to be so destructive and hurt people, I'm glad to see that this has gone all the way to trial and that he's going to actually have to pay these punitive damages.
Yeah. The thing is, right? You don't even have to be a journalist or a podcaster or a content creator to just have some kind of ethics. I mean, because it's much different if he was repeating false information, or you get sometimes. I mean, it's a tough business. That's why a lot of times, even when the morning update show is on air, some stuff I just stay away from. I don't know enough about that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I have no problem telling the audience, you know what? I don't know enough about that. Well, let's go back to it. And stories change and facts and information comes out, but it's still much different. That sometimes everybody gets something wrong sometimes, but he created a whole false narrative. It's totally different, right? Than getting some facts wrong. He created a whole narrative of that just wasn't real. And the thing is people who follow him, a lot of times, man, they're in this echo chamber, right? The far right and the left. They only listen to what they listen to. So there's so many people who are never even checking other media sources. And so what Alex Jones is saying to them is their reality.
Yeah. You're totally right about that echo chamber. I hate when people don't want to hear both sides of the argument. I think it's super important to really sculpture your opinion and your decisions and perspective on matters after you hear both sides of the stories, or the third, fourth, fifth, sixth side of the story, right? Because, everything is not just as it seems. And so you really do need to dig a little deeper, have some credible sources, and read things on your own. So you guys don't get caught up in these headlines. Don't let somebody like Alex Jones, be able to sell you these falsehoods and then you just take it and run with it. People love a good conspiracy theory. They think that big government is just always out to get them and blah, blah, blah. And, and to some respect, there might be some truth to a few things, but Sandy Hook, I don't think the government was ever behind that. I don't think it was a hoax. So for people to have bought into that, it just seems absolutely ridiculous.
That there's always a lot of times a larger narrative as well to excuse away, these extreme actions, especially by white people. Imagine if the same determination that Alex Jones used to say that Sandy Hook was a hoax, if we use that to say, hey, how are we going to get gun control here in order, and so there's never another Sandy Hook? But instead, he's like, oh, Sandy Hook never happened. It's like these guys were January 6th. They're like, it was just a tea party at the Capitol. It's all good. And so instead of telling the truth and putting the truth out there and us finding a better way, these deniers just deny that. They deny justice. They deny these people dignity and death. And, and they've opened. That's why people, they were Stillwell, whoever the senator is there from Connecticut was like, how could we continue to have Sandy Hooks? Because Sandy Hooks are now, in the way we responded to it as a country, it there wasn't enough outrage. Like, you see what I'm saying? Now it's like, oh, well, man, Uvalde, hearts and prayers, this and that. It's normalized, in Stillman Douglas School in Florida. It's all normalized, which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, good point. We have something crazy coming in the comments, which is why this is so dangerous. Carolyn writes in and she says, I remember my uncle constantly asking me if I watched Alex Jones and thought nothing of it. She never heard of him. By the time Alex was in the headlines, my uncle was lost to some Q cult. We've heard of that, you guys, trying to get me to invest in a weird business opportunities. And things just got worse and worse. The whole subculture is crazy, toxic, and just dumb. Yeah. I mean, the whole QAnon culture was a super big deal. I think it was Cuddy and I it was Mike and I who, went down the rabbit hole of trying to figure that thing out. I mean, when people get tapped into these subcultures and these conspiracies, I mean, they go all the way in, man. Listen, to be out of touch with reality is a scary thing. I don't know. Just glad to see that this is finally, they need to take InfoWars off air and they haven't yet. And he's still using his platform to promote, even to promote the fact that he's on trial. He's calling it a kangaroo court. He's using it as a marketing scheme, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I guess he needs it now because he's got like $50 million to pay out and more on the way. Okay. Well, look, let's move into our next story. We're going to start doing it for the culture, you guys. Kanye West is back in the headlines, no less, this time for apologizing to his former wife, Kim Kardashian, for any stress that he's caused. He says, this is the mother of my children, and I apologize for any stress that I've caused, even in my frustration. He goes on to say that, and guess what? Ain't nobody else going to be stressing her either. And, he says he needs to be she needs to be the least stressed and the best sound mind and calm as possible to be able to raise their kids. Kanye, as you guys know, it's been reported, here on this show, that he had several Instagram rants and posts, now deleted, where he aimed, just threats at, Kim Kardashian's ex-boyfriend, Pete Davidson, accusations of Kim's parenting style. He accused Kim of not allowing, him to see the kids in their custody agreement. He's aired out just so many things. I mean, he's came for Kim Kardashian's mom. He's talking about, Kris Jenner making the kids do Playboy. I mean, he's just going all in. Not to mention that he's also in the headlines because he has dissolved his partnership with The Gap. And, it looks like he's about to dissolve his relationship with Adidas as well, which I'm actually in support of, no less. I think he's actually making a very strong business move when it comes to Gap and it comes to Adidas. But you know what? I actually support this. I support the apology. I think that Kanye West is doing the right thing by coming out and just, apologizing publicly and making amends with his baby mother, his ex-wife. And, I really stand by his business decisions in terms of walking away from his 10-year partnership with Gap. And I support him in walking away from this partnership with Adidas, should that happen. So here is why, you guys, he was talking about leaving Adidas. Let's put up that overlay with the Yeezy slides, Cuddy. So this is why he was leaving, you guys. He said that Adidas was basically swag jacking and copying his style. So they have a similar slide to the Yeezys that came out. Do we not have that slide? I hope we haven't, because it'll show you the comparison. I mean, it's like the same thing. So nobody was really tripping off Adidas until Kanye rolled out Yeezy. And so same thing with Gap. And that's why he's dissolved the partnership, because he's claiming that the company breached its contract because they didn't release the clothing that they agreed on. They didn't open the retail stores that were all a part of the agreement. So good business moves on Kanye West here.
Yeah. So here's what I think is that all of this stuff is contrived, right? It's like, we're just here eating the popcorn, man. What's getting ready to happen now? So first of all, an apology, a man apologizes to a woman is are they married? Wife, ex-wife? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Mother of his children. Like, yeah, and a public apology, that's dope. And you know what I'm saying? He should do that. But I think what we're going to see next is we're going to find that Kim and Kanye come together and they're going to launch a lifestyle and clothing brand, and they're going to have their own stores and distribution out somewhere. And so they're planting the seeds right now, so it doesn't seem crazy in 6 months when they launch their brand called like Unity or something, because these guys have come together and, it's like, direct to store, direct to consumer and everything else. So I think that what we're seeing right now is just the setup for what's getting ready to come in a few months. And it's like, yeah, and that's why those everything had to be so big and irate around Adidas and Gap. He probably could have dissolved a lot of that stuff without these rants, without whatever. So then the public feels like, man, Yeezy got empowered. He broke his deals with these guys. And now together with his wife, they've got this brand, this lifestyle and clothing brand with distribution, you know what I'm saying, and everything else. Like, man, I don't really study these guys, but I see enough of how they move to know that all of this stuff that we've been seeing here live, some of it's just Kanye tripping, but a lot of it is part of their master plan. What you saying? These guys are good, man. These Kardashians, you gotta hand it to them.
Damn, that's good. You're good, Omari. Listen, I agree with that. And if they're not thinking that, I hope they're watching Clapback and they're like, that's a great idea. Because people are going to buy into that. I mean, Kim Kardashian has the highest number of Instagram followers on social media, or at least one of the highest, I think right below Beyonce. This is a great strategy and tactic. And, I think I agree that Kanye could have, moved on quietly away from Gap and away from Adidas. But I also think that in this instance, it was appropriate to some extent for him to publicly address why he made the decision to leave. He didn't have to be so volatile and so ratchet and ranting.
Well, I mean, the other thing is like, we just don't know who is a major shareholder in Gap and a major shareholder in Adidas who's working with Kanye behind the scenes on all that. Like, you see what I'm saying? I mean, you have to think these super big brands, man. So much of this stuff is Hollywood, man. Yeah. It's orchestrated. You know what I'm saying? No one at Adidas with all these thousands of employees and this and that, at legal department and product placement and everything. No one was like, hey, that looks like the Yeezy. Or is this part of the setup? You see what I'm saying? And who part of the setup is like, a year and a half from now or whatever, that his shoes are being made at the Adidas plant and whatever. I mean, you got to give it to these guys, man. If they wrote movies, these guys would be winning Oscars year after year after year. And so, I just think that like the way that Kanye knows how the public's going to respond to him, and the way that he is able to make these moves out there with everything else. Right now, they say he's trying to sell off his publishing for $175 million. So then that gets the public thinking like, man, Kanye's selling off his stuff. So whatever he launches, Kanye be like, man, I put everything I had into this, yada yada yada. He's gonna launch. I'm telling you, he's getting ready to launch something big with Kim, man, and it's gonna be global and it's gonna be direct to consumer and all kinds of stuff.
But you're right on the Kardashians being this like superpower, and I would say Kardashians, and I also include Kanye West in that, because anybody a part of that clan, that's a definite business transaction. So, but these guys are crafty, you guys. And the other Kardashian sister, Khloe, is also in the headlines because on the season premiere of their show, The Kardashians, that is now on Hulu, you guys, that aired yesterday, she comes out and she's now talking about the timeline in which her and Tristan decided to have a baby by surrogate. And what she's saying is that he set her up and that he tricked her into having this second baby. And this is the headline that the Shade Room and Baller Alert, that the kids want to see, honey, because this is hot piping tea. So here's what she says. So on the season premiere, she says that Tristan was, basically encouraging her to go ahead and have the second baby. At the time, they were still in a relationship with each other. And they said, okay, let's go ahead and do it. But she says that he was pushing her like, listen, it has to be done. It has to hurry up and get done. They did the surrogate transfer in November, the last week of November around Thanksgiving, Khloe says. And then the news came out that he got the girl, Marley Nichols, pregnant, came out in December, like a week later. So the timeline is super messy. And she says that Tristan knew. He knew because he had some reports, some court papers that came out in July, and he never told her about it until the news came out in December. That's a hotmess.com.
Yeah, that's them people. But why would he want another kid? you know what I'm saying?
Another Kardashian baby.
I mean, man, I do know one thing. I didn't spend a lot of time down in LA, but I spent enough time down there that it's like, man, there's fame, like that fame. There's, of course, the famous people, but it's that, man, staying in that orbit, man. I know so many people that have done so many things professionally or to their body or to whatever, just to stay around fame and stay around access and privilege and luxury and everything else. You know what I'm saying? Of course, he probably got a few more babies out there.
Listen, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Is he still playing in the league?
No idea. Nobody even talks about it. That's the whole point. You see what I'm saying? He's more famous out the league than in.
He's like famous for being like the trifling baby father. Like, that's it. Like, if I were an NBA team, I would not want to take on Tristan Thompson and all of his PR that comes with that. Like, it would just be a smear campaign that goes along with the team. I mean, unless he's playing like LeBron James.
Listen, look, can I jump in here real quick? The NBA has an owner that likes to use the word nigga, so they got much bigger problems than Tristan being a trifling baby daddy.
But if you look at it from a team perspective, right? I would not want to take Tristan on as a team. Like, you don't want that press. You don't want that press at all. NBA got a lot of cleaning up to do anyway. It's a lot going on. I mean, it's Hollywood is so messy. And Kanye West talks about that. He talks about how people are addicted to all of this kind of like drama. And listen, y'all.
But he's feeding the machine, though. That's what I'm saying. It isn't like he's setting an example. If he's like, hey, guys, right now, my life is a roller coaster. But as opposed to having you addicted to my drama, I'm going to go deal with it. He feeds the machine. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's part of the problem.
All of these guys are addicted to clout. Alex Jones, Khloe Kardashian, Kanye. I mean, is out of control. And another person feeding the machine is New York Bishop Lamar Whitehead. He is back in the headlines, you guys. Let's take a quick break, but when we come back, I'm going to roll it out and tell you what this man did. Stay tuned. You're watching Clapback Culture.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Back on this rap ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't miss my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own. Tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers, and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu. And I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody south of Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and plan to getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
That Dre season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace.
All right, y'all, welcome back to Clapback Culture. Without further ado, you guys, so New York Bishop Lamar Whitehead, who was robbed during the live stream service, is now back in the headlines, you guys, for clashing with a woman that came into the church and choking her out the door. We got the tape. Let's go ahead and run it, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Confrontation during a Sunday sermon in Brooklyn landed two people behind bars, including a bishop who argues he was protecting his family.
CBS 2's Jenna D'Angelo spoke with both people involved and has the video from Canarsie.
We're going to pause right here.
During a live stream Sunday service at Leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries, Bishop Lamar Miller Whitehead appears to get disrupted.
You want to come preach? You want to come preach? You want to come preach? Come on up here. Come on up here.
The bishop says it all started when two women came into the church mid-sermon.
One of my ministers told them that you cannot record. You can't record. And they began to make a scene.
Police say when a woman was asked to stop recording and leave, she began to antagonize the bishop and approach him on stage.
They take pictures and they want to be on social media. Take the pictures. Take the pictures.
As she walks past Bishop Whitehead, he appears to grab her from behind and they move off camera.
I've seen her walk in front of me, going at my wife and my daughter, and I grabbed her.
He says he was worried about his family and thinking back to the moment in July when he was robbed at gunpoint during a sermon streamed live online.
That's the only thing that I can remember. This lady had a bag under her arm and she was going after my wife.
The woman in the video, 47-year-old Tarsha Howard, was arrested and charged with trespass and disrupting a religious service. She showed us her injury and made a brief statement.
I am telling you right now that I did not charge after his wife. It's on video and everyone can see that I was the one that was assaulted. And after this statement, he will hear from my attorney.
The bishop was also taken into custody, but shortly after released, now criticizing the NYPD's handling of the incident.
I was treated like a criminal, so I went from the pulpit to the cell for no reason. The New York Police Department failed me and failed my church.
The NYPD says because of crowd control, both the bishop and Howard were taken to the 69th precinct for further investigation. Bishop Whitehead says he wants the NYPD to take action so there are no copycat crimes. In Canarsie, Brooklyn, Jenna D'Angelis, CBS 2 News.
And the bishop says he believes this was all a setup. He says he thinks two bloggers sent the woman his way for clout. Both of the men, religious commentators, spoke with Jenna over the phone. One said he didn't know the women before this. The other says the women have been guests on his show, but he doesn't personally know them and he had nothing to do with this incident.
I am so sick and tired of this guy in the headlines. Let me just break down my thoughts here before I throw it over to Omari. Let's keep that same energy when you're being robbed for $1 million worth of jewelry. I love how he's saying that, she was coming after my wife and my daughter. I don't feel like it was that big of a threat. In fact, the girl who was recording in a different video, one of the members in your congregation snatched her phone as she was recording, and he choked her all the way out the door. Um, I do feel like the woman who came into the church was being disruptive. I'm not sure why she made the decision to go in the church. Another thing that we saw was that there was like 6 people attending the congregation in total. So that's probably why he didn't want anybody to film it, because he didn't want to see that no one actually even goes to his church. But this guy is out of control. And when we talk about what a pastor or a bishop is supposed to represent in our community, he is not holding himself up well. I mean, he held a press conference to talk about how the police have done him wrong. You weren't arrested. You were detained. They asked you to come down to the police station so they could de-escalate the situation. You were never put in handcuffs. You were not charged. They let you go. They even locked up this woman who, essentially made bail. It's just so much drama. And then to do all of it in a fake Christian Dior suit. God damn. What a hot mess.
Yeah, I remember this guy, and yeah, a few things come to mind since COVID is over with. If he only had 6 people in the church, they might be doing something else at that church. You know what I'm saying? Or using that church for something else. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? If they're collected like that, they might got something going on. But when I look at this guy, when I saw the last interview and this interview, man, it's like he's put so much emphasis on possessions. It's really weird. It's almost like, man, what is you compensating for, bruh? It's so much emphasis on possessions and everything else. Dude's just, I don't know. It's like that first thing blew over. If I was him, I'd be wanting to stay out of the media. You know what I'm saying? Like out of it. But it's weird. He's just one that's actually made the news. There's so many people in positions of authority in churches in our communities across America, man, where I don't know if they really serving us the best way they should be. You know what I'm saying? It's just, this dude bothers me. He's troubling.
He bothers me just as much. And I think, to be a leader of any kind and to not be in control of your emotions, to not be in control of your congregation, to not, just not even to have authority over anything. I mean, first and foremost, if you guys were robbed at gunpoint, how come you don't even have security? You're not checking people before you come in. Like there's just a free walk-in policy, after you were robbed at gunpoint by 2 or 3 different gunmen for millions of dollars worth of jewelry. You didn't make the decision out of all the Fendi, the Gucci, the Louis Vuitton, the Christian Dior that you're purchasing. You didn't want to make sure that not only your congregation, but your wife and your 10-month-old daughter, who you are willing to go, up in arms for, you didn't think that you should have security or some type of, screening process before even letting someone in, because he's alleging that she had this bag under her arm and she was charging at my wife. She wasn't charging at your wife. She was walking around after you also were antagonizing her, during your guys' verbal dispute over her recording. And so I say all that to say that if this were a real issue and he was worried about threats or violence coming to him during a Sunday service, why is he not spending and investing his money into some form of security to make sure that everybody's safe? That should have probably been the number one thing you did after you were allegedly robbed at gunpoint. But that's why I'm saying it has to be a hoax, because he don't even feel no type of way. You're more worried about, someone getting a bad angle of you to go on social media, to go to the bloggers. Ain't you supposed to be talking about Jesus? If anything, you should want your message, right, to go forward. And I think this guy is a clown. Like, he's a clown. I hope that this is the last time we see him making headlines for this kind of reason. He is on a tour, a press tour, to talk about anything that somebody will listen to. This guy loves the spotlight. He loves this clout. This is a toxic kind of person, you guys. Like, this guy.
And the thing is the one thing about a preacher is that, a lot of other professions, you couldn't have that title of, whatever, the top whatever. You can't really be a doctor if you don't go to medical school, or even if you're a medicinal doctor going through, there's still school for that and everything else. So all kinds of ethics. Oh man, it's hell of stuff you have to do. But unfortunately, man, to lead a church, bro, all you got to do is really, how the charismatic and everything. A lot of times in churches, there is no message. There isn't. It's no longer about the Bible. I mean, it's a church in the way that they put it. But, if that's what you're into is the Bible, most guys can't even tell you the Bible, But it's an opportunity. I mean, you have to think that there's pockets of our community where people's souls are so depleted, where their sense of hope is so diminished, that even just to go somewhere, you could be in a room with somebody and this guy's doing all of his whatever, and it gives you a sense of purpose and belonging. Like, that's where we at. And that's the only reason why people like this guy, the Movado watch guy, you guys too broke to buy me a watch, all them people are able to continue to, like, not only subsist but thrive, man.
And I would just say to our viewers, please don't let this be any version of representation of the Black church, because this right here, we condemn this. This is not what the Black church represents or what it stands for. So this guy is he ain't one of us. He's a straight clown. But that's our show tonight, Omari. So that was all the topics. What you got planned for this weekend?
Man.
You don't even know.
Man, I was supposed to be in Houston all this week, but it turns out that we're Rainier Beach. Okay, so I can talk about this. Rainier Beach High School, they're doing the groundbreaking tomorrow on the new high school. It's over $175 million building, probably even more than that. For us, by us, build the beach. So that's going on. And then we're doing something real special. There's some NBA games that are going to be happening here in Seattle. The LA Clippers play 2 games in Seattle, one on September 30th and one on October 3rd. And we're working on something real special that's going to play in Climate Pledge Arena during those games. So that's what I'm up to this weekend.
That's dope. When I came home, it was such a sense of nostalgia when I came back to Seattle. And, this was the first time I didn't get an opportunity to kick it with my family due to COVID, but it was so nice. I rode with my sister, my god sister, you guys, and she took me just like through the neighborhood. And I had no idea that they closed beach. Like, I didn't know that there was this big remodeling project going on, that the students were in trailers right now. And she told me about, the full comprehensive plan and everything like that. So this is really dope. I cannot wait to see how it is. I used to live right behind Rainier Beach. So when we used to play outside and play kickball, when we kicked it over the fence, we used to have to hop the fence and we'd be right in the backyard of Rainier Beach. So that is, shout out to the South End one time for the one time. I probably spent too many hours, too many days, too much time on Henderson growing up as a kid. But that's my block. Huh? It gives, you guys always talk about Garfield and all that in the CD, but my heart is still right there, right over there at Rainier Beach Community Center, Henderson and all of that. So that's my hood. But it felt great to kind of be home and just see like all the changes. Of course, you don't want to see so much gentrification, but it definitely, there was a moment I was like, wow, this is a really beautiful, beautiful city. And I'm really proud and lucky to be a native. And so that felt really good. But
yeah, we missed you too, Julia.
miss you guys too. All right, well, that's our show tonight, you guys. I thank you so much for taking your Thursday night to come sit down with me and Omari. Omari, when you're not here, where can I find you?
Everywhere like air, man. Just breathe in, breathe out. But you can find me on social media at Omari Sal, OMARISAL.
All right, you guys. And you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Treasure of JULES. You know what it is. Until then and until next week, stay peaceful, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Peace.